How do you find the NUS campus and studying in Singapore in general?
I think it's really good because the campus is quite big and it's also like a lot of places where you can sit. So if you like to change the environment, it's pretty good.
All right, so what do you do?
I'm doing a PhD here at NUS, so in Singapore. Currently doing my 4th year at Operations Research and Analytics.
Before, what and where did you study?
So I did my bachelor's and master's back home in Sweden. So there's this university called Umeå, which is quite far north in Sweden. My main degree was engineering physics.
Okay.
But then I also got some interest in statistics and data science towards the end of my education. So then I also did an extra degree in statistics.
What is your favorite thing about Singapore?
It's a very versatile city. Like there's a lot of things to do. And I would say like because it's 5 million people living here. And also another thing I really like about Singapore, that it's very easy to travel from. So basically you can go to almost all of Asia very easily and very cheaply from here. So it's a very good place to start if you like traveling as well.
What is your favorite destination to travel to?
From here in Asia, I would say Indonesia and Japan are the best so far. Indonesia because of nature and Japan because of food and culture.
How often do you travel?
Since I started my PhD, more than I wanted to have my supervisor. So far, I travel maybe twice. I actually like the weather here. Very hot and very humid. Actually, you get used to it because it's almost the same every day, all of the year. So basically, it's gonna be 32 degrees in the day. And then during nighttime, it's around 28. And that's consistent. Like, yeah, it's true pretty much like 365 days per year. Okay. Then maybe the downside with Singapore is it's not like a typical student city. Like it's a very big city, maybe not always focused towards students and student life. But then I also compare it to where I studied for my bachelor's and master's, which was more of a student city and not like a metropolitan one.
Can you describe what a university city is?
So I would say it's a city where a large part of the population are students. So I'm not sure if it's very common. Like in Sweden, you have a few cities that's like maybe 20+% of everyone living there are somehow attached to the university. So then you usually get the culture is very geared towards that. And of course, if you're a student, that's kind of nice because a lot of the activities or a lot of things you can do is geared to students. But here in Singapore, it's more like visitors or tourists or more rich people. And as a student, maybe you don't want to go to a concert that's like $300, for example. So then those things are not really available to you, even though you are here.
You also need to take coursework during your studies.
So for us, the two only courses that you need to take is optimization and also stochastic processes, because those are very essential if you do operations research. And then additionally, they usually want you to take at least one machine learning course as well.
Well, for us, the minimum, we have to take 11 courses. Okay.
But mostly you do almost all of them, like the first 1-2 years.
Okay. Are they any different from the undergrad courses or not?
Yeah, so usually it's like masters or like specific like PhD.
Okay.
And then the remaining 7 courses that we have to take can be pretty much anything within the field. And then on top of that, they also require 1 English course. So 11 of them in total.
English.
Yeah.
So like English language.
Yeah.
So do you need to take some IELTS or TOEFL exam at the end?
We need to take IELTS to just get in here.
Okay.
So that's part of the, application or procedure, is that you have to have GRE and also IELTS. And then I think the GRE, they set like a hard limit, but also for the IELTS. So basically everyone should know English, but then also the English module is even mandatory for people coming from English-speaking countries. So say that you're Singaporean and your native language is English, you still have to take the English or communication module, as they call it.
Okay.
Yeah. So because maybe you realized like sometimes Singapore gets quite rainy, so you can walk always under roof, like all across campus without getting wet.
Yeah, and also in this city there are some roads literally on the street.
Yeah.
So that you don't get wet when it rains heavily.
All of this, when you cross the bridge, is gonna be UTown.
Okay.
So all these buildings here.
What's your favorite spot on campus?
So my favorite spot is and has always been UTown. My first 2 years of being in Singapore, I stayed there because they also have residential places for PhD students. And I think it's quite a nice mix of like a lot of open spaces and also a lot of study spaces and very nice places to eat.
How do you find the food here?
I would say it's very good for the amount that you pay. So usually you can find very cheap meats like $4 or $5.
Okay.
And then you can get quite an okay meal. And I think that's maybe the most impressive part about the food here. And that's not like that's Singaporean dollars, which is like a bit lower than American dollars. So say in American dollars, you can get a nice meal for $3 or $4.
You're shitting me. You have a food court inside the campus. Like a real food court.
I mean, there's like lots of food places here. And you give it to them and then they cook it for you.
So you can select any ingredient here, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of places like all over campus where they have like food courts like this one. So almost I would say like every school has like their own food court. So like one for science, one for business, one for computing, one for engineering, etc. And so there are a lot.
Which one is your favorite?
I would say the one in UTown is like the best one.
So you can buy something during your breaks between the classes, right?
Yeah.
What skill do you feel matters way more than people think when starting a PhD?
I think maybe one of the most important skills that people don't think about is choosing a supervisor. And I would even go so far to say that your supervisor might be the most important thing, that you have to have a good one to succeed in your PhD.
Okay.
And I think people take that part too lightly a lot of times.
It's a perfect answer.
Yeah.
I like it. Tell me more about your lab.
So currently I'm working with this professor from Institute of Math. We don't really have a lab in the common sense, so I'm working directly with the professor. Then my program is the Institute of Analytics and Operations Research, which is a separate institute from the math department. So my main research would be numerical optimization.
What does a good research day look like for you?
So a good research day for me, I'm a night person. So usually I sleep in and then maybe I get a bit of work in before lunch and then I eat and then I just continue with work after.
Was it difficult to get into a PhD program?
In NUS, I applied for around 5 programs and I got into 2 of them.
Before, what and where did you study?
So I did my bachelor's and master's back home in Sweden. So there's this university called Umeå, which is quite far north in Sweden. My main degree was engineering physics.
Okay.
But then I also got some interest in statistics and data science towards the end of my education. So then I also did an extra degree in statistics.
Yeah, I don't know here. Do you live in dorms?
No, not anymore. Right now, I'm renting an apartment outside of school.
So you live in the city center, right?
Kinda in between NUS and the city center.
Okay. Is it convenient to get to the campus?
Yeah, I would say so. It's about 20 minutes with bus.
Okay.
So it's not super close, but it's also not that far.
I want to ask, when you moved from Sweden to Singapore, did you have any culture shock?
Maybe the biggest culture difference is the work culture. So I think Singapore in general is quite high paced, and so people work a lot. Usually the work hours are quite long. And I think from where I am in Sweden, like quite far north, it's way more chill. And I think that's probably the biggest difference that I experienced. But other than that, like Singapore is quite international. So I think like the culture here is very international. So no matter where you are from, it's kind of easy to get into. I think that's also like part of the thing. Like Singapore is a very dense city. Like it's 5 million people. So it kind of makes sense that it's very metropolitan.
Yes.
And then I think that culture is usually different if you see like a small town in like in
Sweden
or in Switzerland or Sweden or
yeah,
some other like European country.